It has been such a long time coming. Like, what's it been like? What, 2, 3 weeks since we've recorded?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long string of just weird stuff happening and keeping us from the recording booth. But we are finally back.
Yeah. Is anybody even going to notice, though? I mean, you've still been releasing episodes.
Well, we were on our last pre-recorded episode, so this is going to be the first time we have an episode out basically the week we record it.
Yeah, it's fresh.
Yeah, this is a fresh, brand new episode. So welcome back. This is Become a Bat, a chronological look through Batman's history from the very start. I'm Tom.
And I'm Mike.
And today we are going to be doing episode, let's see, this is like the 22nd episode, or 21st or 22nd episode.
Is it bad that I'm not even keeping track?
22nd. My iPad's saying the 22nd.
I don't really want to keep track. I just want to wake up one day and be like, 100 episodes? What?
I know. Like, we're almost halfway to 50 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just recovered from COVID. I'm fine.
And we both had COVID within the past 2 months.
Yeah, I know I didn't get it from you. I don't know where I got it from. My mom had it too, but I probably got it from my mom. I don't know.
Your taste it must be back to normal because you told me that thing tastes like chocolate, and it kind of does taste like chocolate.
Yeah, my taste came back the other night. Like,
nice.
It was gone for like the whole day, and then I didn't even have it during dinner, and then like a little bit after I like drank something, I was like, oh, I could taste this. It was just like back.
Do things taste weird or do they taste normal again?
No, it just tasted really like muted. Like everything tastes fine now.
Okay.
But when it was like the peak of not tasting, I was just like, I was like putting food in my mouth, drinking things. Is like this is nothing. Like I still taste like texture, and if I like load it up with like really spicy food, like I can taste like the hint. Like I've been getting from Winco these sausages.
Yeah.
They have like scrambled eggs and jalapeno in them.
Ooh.
So I was like eating a lot of those just so I can like have something tasting in my mouth. Like I could feel the spice, but like I couldn't really taste it.
That's how it was for Nikki too. Her taste isn't fully back, and it might not ever come back. But I remember we were joking because I had showed her the show iZombie, which is based on a comic book by Mike Allred, and in the show they have to put tons of hot sauce on everything, or they just can't taste anything.
I remember seeing the first like few episodes of that. I remember that. Yeah,
that show gets really good as it goes on, and it has an actual logical conclusion.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, been a lot of crazy news too. Either the Batgirl situation.
Oh man, yeah.
I don't know. I'm optimistic for the future. So, hopefully they did just announce. I don't know if you've been keeping up with the news. They did just announce they're going to be basically doing a full fresh reboot.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I would love nothing more than to get a reboot, but still have Ben Affleck and still have Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
What would be so wrong about that?
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, Ben Affleck was spotted on the set of Aquaman 2.
Yeah.
So maybe, but we'll have to wait. Things are still too early with the new regime.
I still got my Ben Affleck over here. He'll always be over here by my side.
All right, let's get into the actual episode.
All right.
So today we are doing two stories. Batman number 5, story 3, The Case of the Honest Crook.
Mm-hmm.
And Detective Comics number 55, The Brain Burglar.
It's a good title.
That is, in like, not to say like I'm always taking like the good stories, but like, the Brain Burglar is a better like intriguing story.
Yeah.
Which like when I gave you the choice, you're like, yeah, I want that one. But The Case of the Honest Crook.
That's so good.
Wow.
I feel like I choose them based on the name, and then sometimes I pick the better title, and you end up with the better story.
Yeah. It just ends up that way. We both like had no idea.
I gotta say, like after reading these last couple Batman stories from Batman number 5, that's another book I need on my must-own someday list. I'm sure it's like $500,000 or something, but like if I ever have $500,000, I want Batman or Detective 31 and Batman number 5 and Batman number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Batman number 1 also, but that's like never gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, getting number 1, like it's almost 100 years after it came out.
Yeah.
Good luck.
All right.
Let's get into the story.
So this is Batman number 5, story number 3, The Case of the Honest Crook. I want to read your splash page.
Be my guest.
I want to describe it. I mean, what's to describe? It's Batman and Robin kicking some people's asses. But Robin's swinging from the chandelier, kicking a guy in the face. His hat's falling off. No gun falling out of his hand. I think they're done with that finally.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
It hasn't happened in the last couple issues. And there's like a flower pot falling on a guy's head behind him. And then Batman's like roundhouse punching some guy and he's flipping over backwards. It's like a cool, like Adam West style fight scene. But there is a time when justice is blind. When justice errs, the time when the long arm of the law points an accusing finger at an innocent man. This is the story of such a man. A man who, because of the law's wrong judgment, almost became a criminal. But for the timely intervention of the Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder, for it was they who gave him back his self-respect and weeded out the evil that was to be found in the case of the honest Crook.
Nicely done.
I almost messed that one up.
All right, so this episode, I mean, like them all so far, this story was done by art by Bob Kane, Jerry Robinson, George Roussos, and written by Bill Finger.
Mm-hmm. This does very much feel like it was drawn by Bob Kane.
Yeah, this has got a different edge to it. It starts out so like typical, and they like go all out with this one. So, all right, let's get into the synopsis. Batman is out on patrol when he hears a shopkeeper yelling at a thief to stop. Batman tackles the thief and is about to strike him down when he sees a desperate look in his eye. The shopkeeper catches up and he tells Batman that the thief is kind of peculiar. He only robbed them for $6, which I did the inflation calculator, which I don't even know if that's even, currently up to date because of how crazy it is. But
yeah, maybe not.
$6 in 1941 is $121 in 2022 money. So
it's not a little bit of money. That's a decent chunk.
That's
of change.
a decent chunk of change. I mean, yeah, relatively speaking. But I guess if he's going like that's a very specific amount, it's still peculiar. But anyway, so anyway, he refused to take more, despite the shopkeeper having more than $6. So Batman asks the thief why he wanted $6, and the thief tells him his life story. His name is Joe Sands, and he needs the money to buy his sick wife and the medicine that she needs. So they met a couple years prior, and they got engaged, and but they made a deal with each other, saying that they'll get married once they finally have $1,000 saved in the bank, which inflation brings that to $20,157. So that's a decent amount to get. Not impossible, but
it's like a brand new car.
Yeah, which for like a house and a car, I don't even think they need a car, but they're living in Gotham. But yeah, that's pretty comfortable living.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so one day Joe is at home. Joe's at work at a garage when a gangster comes in and tells him he'll give him $200 to store a stolen car at his garage. And so before he agrees, Joe goes to tell Anne the good news, but she makes him refuse the money. She doesn't want to start their marriage on this foundation of crime. So Joe goes back and he tells the mobster that he's refusing the money, but he'll keep quiet about this. So later, the mobster sets up Joe to make it look like he got drunk and he drove into a storefront. Joe tells the judge that he was set up, but the judge doesn't believe him and he gets 2 years in prison. Joe had to pay the damages out of his savings. Anne waited for him, and when he got out, they got married. But sadly, Joe got caught in the cycle of getting and losing jobs as soon as they find out about his criminal record. So, and then that's when Anne got sick, and he didn't have the $6 to pay for the medicine. The shopkeeper takes pity on Joe Sands. He lets him have the $6. Batman decides he wants to help. So he asks about the gangster that set him up, if his face reminds him of like a snake. Excuse me, I worded it terribly. He asks about the gangster that sets him up, and Batman does ask if his face reminds him of a snake and if he wore sleek clothes. I think Joe says that. I don't know. It's been like 3 weeks since I read this.
Batman asks him that, yeah.
Yeah, okay, whatever. But anyway, Batman knows exactly who this was. It's a guy named Matty Link, and he belongs to the Smiley Sykes mob. That's a tongue twister.
It's a weird name.
Yeah. But it's very evocative. Like you could picture him exactly in your mind, even if this wasn't a comic book.
Yeah.
So Batman waltzes into his way into Smiley Sykes' apartment, and he casually sits down and he asks Smiley if he fixed up the frame job that Matty carried out. Smiley asks his goons to attack Batman, and he dodges a club to the head while he's sitting down, and he smacks the hell out of them. He throws one of them at Smiley and he leaves, convinced that Smiley was behind the frame job. So a few moments later, Matty Link enters Smiley's apartment, and Smiley tells Matty about how Batman paid him a little visit and was asking about him. Matty is nervous and he leaves. That's when Smiley has a hitman kill Matty. So the next day, Bruce Wayne reads about this in the newspaper, and he decides to get his young ward, Dick Grayson, to visit Matty Link's apartment to see if there was anything that he could link Smiley and Joe Sands to. Bruce says that he'll visit Commissioner Gordon and see if there's anything he can do himself to find, anything. So that night, Robin visits the apartment, but turns out he's not alone. Smiley's goons are there, and they whack Robin in the head with a pistol. Bruce is at home, and he's waiting far longer than he expected. This should have been a simple job. Sensing that something was off, he dresses up as Batman, and he races off into the Batmobile. He gets to Matty's apartment to find Robin on the floor with a bloody head. Convinced that Robin is dead, Batman becomes filled with rage and thoughts of vengeance. He picks up Robin's body, and he takes it to the Batmobile when he hears Robin make some noise. Realizing that Robin is alive, Batman rushes to a doctor's home, waking him up, and demands that the doctor operate on Robin or he'll kill him. The doctor says he'll do it, not because he fears for his life, but because it's his duty as a doctor. Now that Robin's life is secure, Batman can focus his rage towards Smiley Sykes. The gangsters see the Batmobile pull up and they start shooting. A bullet hits Batman in the shoulder, but this doesn't even hinder him. Smiley orders them to board up the door. Batman smashes the door as if it were cardboard. He punches and he kicks his way through everyone in the room. He smashes a chair over somebody's head. Smiley cowers behind his desk and he starts to shoot at Batman. He shoots Batman in the rib. Nothing is slowing Batman's approach. Batman lunges towards Smiley, choking him, uppercutting him, punching him across the face, you name it. Batman demands a written confession, framing Sands. Smiley surrenders and he agrees. Batman drags Smiley out of the apartment and into the police department. The police are too scared and dumbfounded to even think about arresting Batman. So Batman goes back to the doctor to check up on Robin, who tells him the good news. Batman then faints because the bullet wounds are catching up to him. The doctor operates on him, removing 3 bullets. Batman and Robin wake up, assured by the doctor that their secret identities are safe. And to top it off, they're visited by Joe Sands and the shopkeeper, who's even given Joe a job. The end.
Man.
That was really fucking good.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite stories we read so far, if not my favorite. And which is saying a lot, because I really love the Joker stories and the Clayface stories, and I really loved that one, the Public Enemy #1.
Yeah, that was good. That one's what this one reminded me of most.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've ever seen Batman this angry.
Yeah.
This is like modern Batman.
That's what I wrote too. Like, I'm going to go through my thoughts here just because you just did the synopsis.
Yeah.
But yeah, it felt very modern. Here, I'll just read my thoughts here.
Yeah.
But before I start, I just want to say I thought it was kind of funny in the end where Batman was like, "I'm going to be a sissy and faint now." And then the doctor's like,
Yeah.
"A sissy? This dude has like 3 bullets in him."
Yeah.
like Batman, come on. But anyways, yeah, this one was definitely badass. Like, this is the first Batman story that has been written so far that was badass. Like,
Yeah.
where he seemed actually very threatening and like,
there's like nothing really campy. Well, like it starts out and you're like, oh, this will be a typical campy adventure,
right.
and then it just not.
No. So yeah, this is the first time that we truly see him pissed off, not just like Robin, like, oh no. But yeah, he goes on a rampage against those criminals. And this is also the first time that they've referred to Batman and vengeance together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have not said vengeance until this issue, and it really is appropriate. Like, it really does feel like he's vengeful. It's also the first appearance of Robin's death. Haha.
Yeah.
Because how many times do Robins die, whether it's for real or not?
All the
So
time.
many times.
But
yeah.
yeah, that iconic
Like the carrying his body, that
Yeah.
becomes a cover like in a
Yeah.
couple issues down the line. So it's just cool to see that for the first time. I really loved seeing him systematically take down that room full of thugs.
Mm-hmm.
It felt very Frank Miller-y, like
Yeah.
bursting through the door and the door just exploding into like pieces of wood, and then he just goes to town on those guys like so
Mhm.
hard. it also felt like Batman v Superman because that was Frank Miller right there too. Like the way he took down the warehouse. So it was cool seeing him sort of feel like the more modern Batman this early on.
Yeah.
It reminded me also of like Marv Wolfman and Jim Starlin's writings on Batman, which are like the late 70s and early 80s. Because I feel like that's where Batman really became who we think of him now as, is the late 70s, early 80s. But this really nails that tone like really well. And you and I talked about this before, just like through text. I don't think we mentioned it on the podcast, but we already know there's ghost artists on the book, you know, like Dick Sprang being one of them, Sheldon Moldoff being one, where they draw panels or parts of or the entire issues, and then they sign Bob Kane as their name, and you can tell the difference by the way the signature's done. But there's also ghost writers on some of these issues too, which are even harder to find out. And one of the ghost writers was Mickey Spillane, who wrote all the Mike Hammer books and did a whole bunch of like pulp detective novels. And this feels like it's straight up him. Like the way Batman acts is exactly like the protagonist of the Mike Hammer series. Like he's just stern and like ready to take you down if you don't give him what he wants, like threatening people with death, you know, like it's really cool. I love this issue.
Yeah. Like Batman just straight up like saying he's going to kill the Doctor.
Yeah. Like, dude, what about the Hippocratic Oath? You know, he has to do it. Come on.
Like Batman's just not thinking.
No.
Yeah. Like, and he's a very dangerous person if he's not thinking.
He's a loose cannon.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get in. Like, that's pretty much some of my thoughts. Let's, like some more of my thoughts are going to go on as we talk about the panels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into the panels. So that first one, with where he's busting into Smiley's apartment for the first time. And he's like very jovial about it.
I know, I love
like,
the scene.
It's a 180 from how he'll end up being. Like Batman's like really confident, and like it's almost as if it's like fun and games for him. He's like, yeah, I know this guy did it. I'm just gonna fuck with him.
Yeah.
And like he comes in, it's almost like, hey Lucy, oh honey, I'm home. You know, he's like waving. He's like, evening, Smiley. Thought I'd come to pay a social call. And like the gangsters are all just like chilling out. And, Smiley's like got his legs, like feet on the table or whatever,
reading a newspaper.
Yeah. And then the next panel is Batman. He's like very sassy. He's sitting down on a chair and he's got his arms crossed. He's like leaning back a little bit. He's asking about Maddie Link. You know, and he's got all the confidence. It's like it's rightly earned. There's the two gangsters behind him with the guns. And then after that is the panel where Batman, still confident, arms crossed in the chair. He's kicking one, like, you know, upside the neck, clear, you know, from a sitting position. Like,
yep, he just tilts the chair back and kicks him in the face.
Yeah, like this is still just a game to him.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love how cocky he is. He's just like, I would love to see something like this in a live action setting. It would be really hard to pull it off.
Yeah,
but like, oh my god, I could just imagine like a big beefy like Ben Affleck Batman sitting in a chair like that with being surrounded by thugs and then just like kicking him in the face.
Yeah, I can't imagine like the Batman animated series getting this tone right, but I could see it working well with the Batman Brave and the Bold Batman.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That one has some really good tonal changes.
That the Brave and the Bold Batman feels very much like Batman in this era in the comics right now, because he does this a lot where he almost talks like a sitcom character, where he like busts into the room and he's like, how's it going, guys? You know, like he's got like these cheesy one-liners, but then he throws down, you know, and it gets really intense. Yeah. But I love this issue because he goes from that to like really dark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that goes into the next panel we chose. I think we both would have chosen like the same.
I pretty much picked every panel you picked. Plus, like I could have picked every panel this entire issue.
That's why we moved it to the panels we love rather than like our favorite panels, because there's so much overlap.
By the way, I think this is the longest synopsis you've ever written. You definitely like this issue. It was like one of my synopsises.
Yeah, I don't know if it was longest, but like it was definitely one where I was just like, yeah, everything about this is gold.
Yeah, it was very detailed too. Yeah. Like you got really into the adjectives.
So then after that one is the next panel is Batman holding what he thinks is Robin's corpse. Mm-hmm. And it's very like much like Death in the Family, that pose we've seen a billion times. Oh, yeah. I think I've seen it somewhere else before, like in some other Batman comic I was reading randomly that like was, I don't know, 60s or 70s, you know, even before they did Death in the Family. Like this was definitely an iconic pose that they wanted to do.
There's two other Batman comic books that have a cover that look very similar to this, one from the 50s and one from the 70s.
Yeah, and just like all of that happiness from like the previous couple panels, the sassiness is gone. It just totally like focus.
Yeah.
Like there's the vengeance. Yeah. For the first time, the Batman knows rage, bleak, grim rage. Woe to all criminals, for now the Batman has become a terrible figure of vengeance.
It's kind of funny too, because when Jason Todd dies, that is exactly what happens.
Yeah.
Like this panel encapsulates the change that happens in Batman between having Robin and Robin dying.
Mm-hmm.
So, although he's not really dead right here.
Though, not to break up the seriousness, it reminds me of there's an iconic panel from one of the Sonic the Hedgehog comics where it's like kind of late into like the early run, and it's like got a similar thing where like for the first time Sonic knows the meaning of war. And he's like tearing up a robot, and it's like all the like the same thing where like all his like confidence is gone. He's just like out for blood.
I also like this box up here on the top of this panel you didn't read, where it says, slowly his great frame straightens, small veins stand out on his features, muscles cord in his throat, his eyes become fires, his mouth a knife-edged line.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's very hard-boiled. Like,
yeah.
Batman's gonna kill someone basically if he has to.
Yeah.
Maybe this doctor.
Yeah, so like the next panel is the one we mentioned before, where Batman is threatening the Doctor.
He's like shaking him. Look at all those shake lines.
Yeah, he's just this old man. I don't like we've never seen him before. Just Batman knows he's a doctor. But listen, if this boy dies because you refuse to operate, I'll come back and I'll kill you with my bare hands. Wow.
Yeah.
And then so the next one is the aftermath after he gets the confession. Batman is dragging Smiley's like it's not his body, but like his defeated self across. The gangsters are like there. Like one's even still got a gun in his hand, but they're like, think we ought to take a shot at the Batman? Not me. I ain't tackling him today. Like they are like morally, like even though they're up and standing, they are morally defeated. This Batman with 3 gunshot wounds.
Right.
They are scared shitless.
Such a good panel.
Yeah. And then it carries over into after that where Batman drags him into the police station. And at this point, Batman doesn't even give a shit about how like the police, were going to arrest him on sight. Like it doesn't matter.
No, he doesn't leave him there with a note with a little bat drawn on it. He drags him by his collar all the way to the police station and then hands him to the cops.
Yeah, directly into a cop's hand. And the cops are all too confused to even like do anything about it.
Yeah.
They like even though it's like we don't see blood or anything, they must be seeing like a more modern interpretation. He'd be like full of blood and dirt and like.
Well, there's some blood. There was one panel where you could see one of the bullet holes as he was like walking forward, and there was blood trickling out of it a little bit.
Yeah. You see. Like, here's your panels. Okay, I didn't see your panels.
Yeah, I separated them just because I didn't want to have to put them in the order. It's kind of hard to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
So, yeah. So the first one I picked is like Batman holding Robin's body when he thinks he's dead, and he's like holding his face, and there's blood running down the side of his face, and Batman just looks like really distraught.
Yeah.
And he's saying like his head all bloody. He's been clubbed to death. Robin's dead. And there's like multiple exclamation points.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, Batman's got a really chiseled jaw there too.
And then I also like this next panel. It's like him and he's like kneeling down and he's shaking, like his whole body's shaking. And he's holding Robin. And then it says, the Batman, man who has faced 1,000 dangers, man of strength and willpower, now bends his head and weeps. Anguished sobs are torn from his body. So I think that's the first time Batman's ever said to cry.
Yeah. Like, this seems like it's like hurting him way more than like the bullets did.
Yeah, like we see Robin shed a tear in one of the issues when he thinks Batman's dead and he goes nuts.
Batman like falls into like the water, I think.
And Batman does get pissed and attack people when he thinks Robin got hurt once or almost killed, but like not quite to this extent, which is what makes me think it's a different writer because like they are focusing so much on his inner turmoil here, and they haven't done that so far.
Yeah, Batman catches him, like he finds him dead, and it's a different situation than being in the heat of battle and seeing him get injured, and they still got that adrenaline. He's going from like curiosity to just outright like shock.
Yeah, I had to put this one in too, just because Batman slams a chair over a guy's head.
Yeah,
like come on, you can't not put that in there.
Oh, that is brutal.
Yeah. And it looks like the guy in the background is shooting, and he's probably accidentally shooting his friend because he's like directly in the line of fire.
Yeah, probably.
And then I picked the panel too where Batman's busting through the door because it's just such a good panel. He's like full on running through the door, and it looks like it doesn't even slow him down at all.
No,
like the centrifugal force carries him through the door, and he's already uppercutting a dude in the face.
Yeah, it might as well be cardboard.
Yeah, it says the wood splinters as his broad shoulders smash through. So good.
Yeah, that's definitely a precursor to like Dark Knight Returns, where his like arms go through the walls to just get one of the mutants.
Can you tell why I picked this next panel?
Is it because the guy's ass is in his Smiley's face?
Yeah, he literally picks a guy up and he throws him, and then the guy's ass goes right into Smiley's face and knocks him out of his chair.
I love that. Yeah, like, threw him like a baseball. A man like a baseball.
Yeah,
That's
and
fantastic.
then he says like, "How careless of me, slipped right out of my hands." So that's the stuff I'm talking about, like the goofy one-liner type things. And then I had to pick this one too. There's just way too many good panels in this issue.
There are.
This one feels very like out of character for modern Batman, but it's really nice to see because it's just him giving somebody money.
Yeah.
He's like, basically like, I know you're having a hard time. Thanks for sharing your story. Here's some money. Just give me your address. And then he gives him more money later.
Yeah, typically we'd see probably like Bruce Wayne, do something nice for the guy, but it never Batman straight up doing it.
Yeah. And then the last panel, I like the way that it's described right here because it says, a cry cuts sharply through the midnight air. A thief flees in panic from the scene of his crime when suddenly an ink-hued figure slinks out of the deep shadows. I mean, that's just like every night for Batman.
Yeah.
It's almost like it could be the intro to Batman the Animated Series, but just like in a paragraph. So, had to put that in there.
Yeah, that was excellent.
Very good issue. Highly recommended. If you're only going to read one old Batman issue, this is a really good one to read. I think there's been a lot of variety in Batman number 5 so far.
We're going to take a quick break, and then when we get back, we're going to do Detective Comics number 55, The Brain Burglar.
And we're back. We're back with Detective Comics number 55, The Brain Burglar. Art by Bob Kane, Jerry Robinson, and George Russos. Written by Bill Finger. And did you notice, by the way, the cover of this one? Look at the little Batman cameo in the upper left.
It's the new updated one.
It's the new updated one. And it looks even better than the last time because it actually looks more detailed this time. It doesn't look like really cartoony.
Yeah, the other one just kind of looks slapdash. This was...
I really like this one. And I think this one will probably stick around now.
Probably.
Cool cover. It's like this kind of like baby blue. And it's got Batman on a rail car fighting two mechanics, I guess, because they're holding monkey wrenches. And then Robin swinging in somehow from something, which I have no idea what. But he's on a rope and he's swinging in to do battle with Batman.
Yeah, I think this one actually does take place in this issue instead of like what they used to do, where it was like
the next issue or the issue before.
Yeah,
I think so too. I mean, definitely. All right, let's get onto the splash page here. Do you want me to read it or do you want to read it?
You know what? Let me give it a shot.
Okay, see if you can do it.
Yeah,
without having to repeat.
Worst of all menaces, worst of all criminals is the filth. Nope. All right. Is the fifth columnist, treacherous, dangerous as a snake. He burgles the secrets of a peace-loving people in an attempt to smash American democracy. When he tries to bore even into the very brains of a people, then it is that the whirlwind duo, the Batman and Robin, steps in to stop him and bring a swift end to the diabolical evil of the Brain Burglar.
Nice. I like filth columnist.
I almost said filth communist. I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Filth columnist works though, because it's talking about how filthy they are. All right, let's get into the synopsis here. Famous local inventor John Henry has just created a machine that will force a man to tell the truth when put on his head. The press show up at his house to ask a few questions about the machine, but he sends them away, and then later that night, John Henry and his brain machine are kidnapped and held hostage. The kidnapper is a Dr. Decker, and he wants to know exactly how the brain machine works. Henry refuses to talk, so Decker has his thugs beat him up until he changes his mind. John Henry reveals to Dr. Decker how the machine works, and then Dr. Decker proceeds to use it on him to steal his secrets and his ideas for a tremendous new invention. The new invention strikes a chord with Decker. He thinks he can use it to mind control an entire army of soldiers. He brings in a huge army of Soviets for an experimental surgery. He puts them under one by one, I cannot talk today, and performs the operation. Over the next few weeks, more renowned... What the heck? I should have proofread this. Some blah, blah, blah. Over the next few weeks, more renowned inventors start disappearing. Bruce Wayne is sitting at home reading about the disappearances while he waits for his date to get ready. After expressing his concern to Dick, he leaves for the military airport to meet up with Linda Page. She shows him some brand new prototype bomber planes and subtly tries to convince him to get a job in the field. As Bruce is politely telling her no, one of the mechanics starts to behave wildly, running straight for Bruce and hitting him with a powerful blow that sends him flying through a huge stack of wooden crates. Suddenly, all the other mechanics start acting wildly too. They pick up sledgehammers and start smashing everything around them. Linda and her dad make a run for it. Behind the crates, Bruce changes into Batman. He takes down the mad mechanics one by one and manages to prevent any further damage from happening to the plane. Once he's successful, he changes back into Bruce Wayne and stumbles out of the broken crates and over to Linda, who then berates him for not doing anything.
He's able to do that a lot faster these days. Remember like the first or the second
30
issue?
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bruce makes his way back home, and we cut to Dr. Decker and his thugs. They are talking about the airplane incident and its success. Decker says that next time he will increase the power even more and make the men even more vicious. Back at Wayne Manor, Bruce tells Dick everything about the airport incident. He thinks that it has something to do with the missing scientists. He shows Dick an article about another local scientist, Mason, who has been complaining about suspicious people following him around while he tries to develop his special new type of gunpowder. Batman heads to Mason's house and knocks him out cold with a punch to the back of the head. He then ties him up and leaves him in the basement. Batman whips up a clever disguise and takes Mason's place as the kidnapping victim. When the thugs come and steal him away, he goes without putting up a fight. Once at Decker's lab, he finds all the other missing scientists. Dr. Decker reveals what he has been doing and tells Mason/Batman that now he is going to steal his inventions too. He puts Mason under the machine and begins to question him. But suddenly, Robin, the boy wonder, breaks down the door and begins assaulting the thugs. Decker is enraged, and then Mason stands up and removes his disguise, revealing himself to be none other than Batman. Batman hooks Dr. Decker up to the brain machine and questions him about everything, forcing him to reveal his nefarious plans, and also tell Batman that when he punched him earlier and he fell into the machine, he activated the sleeper agents at the nearby steel mill.
Nefarious.
Nefarious is right. They are going to destroy the mill while some of his other men whisk off with the secret formula for a new experimental type of metal. Then Decker and his men are going to escape into the night on a huge dirigible. The dynamic duo races off for the steel mill. When they get there, the chaos is already underway. They move quickly around the mill, incapacitating the men and preventing further damage. Up on the catwalk, Batman comes face to face with one of the crazed agents. They struggle, and Batman almost loses the upper hand. He very nearly is forced over the railing into a vat of liquid hot steel, but he manages to turn the tides and send the agent to his death instead. The dynamic duo finish off the last few brainwashed agents and then leave and make their way to the dirigible in the Batplane. They toss choking gas pellets at the men on the ground, who are waiting to board. Then they engage the autopilot and jump from the Batplane through the windshield of the dirigible to confront Decker. The Doctor and his men flee, with Batman and Robin in hot pursuit. They make their way up to the top of the dirigible, where after a near fall, the Caped Crusaders manage to get the upper hand in the fight. Batman tackles the two agents off the side of the aircraft, while Robin struggles with Decker and his gun. Suddenly, a shot goes off, and everyone panics. A bullet has penetrated one of the hydrogen bags. Batman and Robin dive off the side of the dirigible and latch onto the ladder of the hovering Batplane, while the dirigible begins to swell. They take off with haste, as the dirigible disappears into a massive explosion. Once in the clear, Robin asks Batman how he was able to not reveal his secret identity while he was under the brain machine. Batman tells him that since the machine reacted to metal in the brain, he lined his wig with rubber. The end. I had a problem with the very end of it though, because okay, so the machine reacts to metal that's like implanted in your brain.
Yeah.
He didn't have the metal implanted in his brain anyway, so he doesn't even have to wear a rubber lined wig because he never had the experimental surgery performed on him.
Yeah, that's
clever, but like unneeded. So
yeah, I don't know. I think they were probably thinking too hard there.
Yeah, maybe.
A machine that can scan a person's thoughts. Like
Batman Forever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that. I don't like the idea of the police having control over something like that. That would be a complete disaster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that some civil rights violations there.
Right.
Linda Page's uncle runs an aviation company.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of Carol Ferris and Hal Jordan.
Linda Page makes a return appearance soon.
She will.
She's gonna have to be in my Batman story.
Oh yeah, yeah. I wonder if that partially inspired Hal Jordan and the Carol Ferris origin and relationship.
Possibly, probably, honestly, because they're both DC Comics, and Green Lantern. When did Green Lantern come out? Like the Hal Jordan Green Lantern, not Alan Scott.
It was like early 60s.
Yeah, so like there was plenty of time for people to be nerding out about Superman and Batman before they rebooted Green Lantern, and I could definitely see someone reading this story and taking that as inspiration.
Yeah. It's a classic mad scientist plot. It feels like a throwback to the Dirigible of Doom with Napoleon.
Oh yeah,
all the way back there. That's all I got with this one. It's after the big everything with the last issue. This one was kind of deflating, even though it's got all the stuff you want in like a classic Batman story.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, that was Batman. This is Detective Comics. Yeah. So, like, if you were reading them, you wouldn't have gone from that to this. Yeah. And this was a good story, but yeah, there's not a whole lot here. I definitely thought it was similar to the Dirigible of Doom and Green Lantern 2. Mm-hmm. I think it was pretty predictable. Batman steals invention, uses it to amass an army of mind-controlled thugs to do his bidding. I feel like it's already happened 2 or 3 times. Yeah. So it's nothing fancy or new. The art in the first half was pretty good. There's a lot of like silhouettes and shadow work that I thought was really impressive. Mm-hmm. Like, you've actually got one pulled up right there. Yep. But about halfway through, it just turned into like a Dick Tracy comic strip. Like you could tell that like whoever was drawing it initially ran out of steam, and then a ghost artist had to come in and finish it. Yeah. Because the art style is completely different. Like it's similar, but it just gets really cartoony and basic looking. And I don't hate it. It was really weird to see it change like that so dramatically between the first and second half. So.
Yeah, let's get into the panels. Mm-hmm. So the first one is the mad scientist, and he's basically having like the other guys torture the other guy. Yeah. I know I chose this one just because I did like that silhouette.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's framed really cool. It got the mad scientist up front, kind of grinning and being nefarious while they're about to torture him.
I like that it's done in silhouette because it leaves it to the imagination, and you kind of can think about what they're doing instead of just like showing it happen. Yeah, I always prefer that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think at this point they could have shown it happening, but they went the more artistic route.
They could have drawn it, but I think if they drew it, it would have looked cheesy. Yeah. Whereas like doing it like this, it feels kind of dark. Mm-hmm.
See this next one.
I love this panel. It's so cool.
It's just a very classic Batman. Yeah. Like holding the cape in front of his face. Just a nice close up. And he's worried about his secret identity.
It might be the end of Batman's secret identity. Not in an issue like this.
No. Did you choose this next one? I can't remember if I did or you did.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. It's a good one too.
I like I'm a sucker for any panel that shows Batman and Robin like running somewhere. Mm-hmm. I like the way they're drawn here too. This is kind of like the slightly cheesier, cartoonier art that I was talking about.
Yeah, I can see it. There's like I don't want to say it's a decline, but it's not consistent.
It's more stylized. Yeah. Which is what makes me think that it's like a Dick Sprang fill-in or something. Because Dick Sprang's art feels much more in line with like Dick Tracy. Yeah. You know, like it's a little more flat looking, a little more exaggerated features. I'm not really like that. So this was the panel that I just liked the most out of like the later end of the book. Mm-hmm.
See, I chose this next one where it's like it's got 3 people in like these like balls. They're not in balls, but it's got the 2 hands like above, like almost like a puppet master kind of
You know what it is? It's exactly like those panels you picked from those previous issues where people were being mind controlled, and it showed like hands or a face showing everybody they're controlling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
You said that it reminds you of David Lynch.
Yeah, the guy in the middle looks.
Oh, he looks
like David Lynch.
Totally looks like David Lynch.
Yep.
That's funny.
I know I picked this next one where it's got the scientist and he's I'm not gonna bother reading everything. I mostly picked it just because I like he's giving this big speech and it's almost a Dutch angle of him talking.
It is, and it's just like a run-on sentence, like jumbled together, no spaces, just like
he's just cackling.
Yeah,
it's good. All right, and then after that is a definite you cannot argue Batman did not kill this guy panel.
Confirmed kill. Batman knocks a guy into molten hot metal.
Yeah. It's Batman up on the catwalk or whatever. He just punched the guy and he is falling straight into a vat of boiling steel.
Now we need molten hot metal man as a villain.
Yeah, they come back and they're like
Liquid Terminator.
Yeah. And then our final shot of the story is
super cool.
Yeah, you want to describe it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's described pretty well on the bottom. Beautiful panel.
Beautiful panel. Yeah.
It's just this really cool shot of the dirigible like zooming through the night sky, and there's like clouds kind of obscuring it, and then the moon is in the background, but it's only like half of the full moon, and it's completely silhouetting everything that's going on. So you have like Batman running across the top of the dirigible fighting these guys, and then the bat plane with the ladder coming down. Like you can just like feel the action in this panel.
Yeah,
like there's motion lines and stuff like that to help, but like it feels cinematic. It feels like a movie, you know. Very well done.
Yeah. That is an excellent panel. Mm-hmm. All right, so I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of Become a Bat. Mm-hmm. Next time we're gonna finish off Batman number 5.
Yep, story number 4.
With story number 4, and that one is called
Crime Does Not Pay.
Excellent.
Yep. And Detective Comics number 56 called.
Let's see, I got that one. I gotta scroll down that one. I didn't write that. The Stone Idol, which that was a pretty entertaining issue too.
Yep.
Sure. All right, so we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Bye.